Hi, I'd like to share today just two things with using quizzes in Canvas, how to create question banks, with the purpose of really using question banks in Canvas, or at least some advantages that I've discovered with them, and then how to use some of the built-in analytical tools that Canvas provides. So I'm going to, I'll go here to some quizzes that I've already designed for my course. This semester I'm teaching a composition 106, composition 2. That's an English 106 course. You'll see that I have several assigned quizzes. All of these have been published so that the students have access to them during the due dates. And then the way that I typically run my late work policy, or my submission policy, is that I have a due date and then I close the assignment about 3 days past that due date. But we're going to talk about question banks, and that is creating a series of questions that the test will randomly pull a selected number of those questions. So then as you have students taking the test, or you can set it up, I've done a few that I've set up as a worksheet, so it's still a quiz, but the students can take it over and over again, and the questions are either multiple choice or true or false. The questions are answered. I have a pre-programmed answer in there, and so students can take it multiple times, and with the use of question banks, they're not getting the same question, or at least they shouldn't be getting the same question each time. So I'll show you here my midterm worksheet. Rather than giving the students a midterm exam, I created this worksheet to let them know a little bit about what I'm expecting out of this, or what I mean by worksheet is that it's formatted just like a quiz. It's in fact, you'll see here it says graded quiz as the quiz type, but you'll see that I don't have a time limit. Now, normally I would say shuffle answers here, but in this case I don't. But I do allow multiple attempts. The students can take this as many times as they want, and they keep the highest score. So the incentive, the goal with this particular assignment here was, it was a chance for the students to review everything that we had talked about in the first half of the semester. But rather than just testing them, I wanted, if there were gaps in their knowledge, I wanted to give them that opportunity to go back and review and refresh and try the assignment again, so that they could get a higher score on it. And then you see that I say I do look for 70%. So then in the module, I can set a requirement that before the student is allowed to go to the next module, that they do have to earn at least 70% on this quiz. So this is not something that I establish in the quiz itself. I just simply want to put the verbiage here so that the students know that that's my expectation for them. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is those question banks. If I go in here, we're going to go to edit. You'll notice that if you're creating a quiz, or if you're working on one that you've already created, you're given the first page here the chance to write a little description about it, give it a title, and then you set up your basic settings for the quiz. What kind of, is it practice, meaning that the grade is not going to go affect their overall grade. Is it a survey, ungraded survey, those sort of things. Now I have it set up as a graded quiz. As I said, I usually shuffle the answers. I do grade. With weighted grades. So tests and quizzes in my class, since it's a composition course, which is more focused on writing, the tests and quizzes only make up about 15% of the students' grade. So I do have to create these in another location, but then assign the group here. So you're most likely very familiar with all of this. Now, to get to the question bank, so I'm going to go over here to questions, and you'll see that I have a group that says pick 10, 2 points per question, and then just a host of questions. So a lot more than 10 questions here, but when the student loads this up, each time they attempt to take this quiz, they will be given 10 questions out of this bank at random. And then, as I said, all these questions are either multiple choice, matching, true or false, things that I don't need to go in and grade, that I don't need to look at manually. So the reason behind that is to give the students the opportunity to take it over and over and over again at their own pace, without having to wait for immediate instructor feedback. So to do this, you would, if we go all the way down here, typically you're going to create a new question. If you push the new question, that will give you a question for the quiz. But then we have this new question group, and that's how we create the bank. Click on the new question group. This creates our bank here. You can give it any name that you want. If that's something that you prefer to organize by kind of categorically, you can choose how many questions are picked. So in this case, if I established 2 separate banks, I would have 10 questions that would get selected from this group. And then if I change this down here to 8 questions, 1 point each, when students take this quiz, they would be given a total of 18 questions. They would have 8 from this group and 10 from this group up here. And of course, I can always change that. And maybe the questions I have in this particular group, I want to weigh them a little heavier in points, so I can have 2 points here per question, and then maybe the ones down here, these might be just my true or false, and so I don't, with a 50-50 chance of the student getting it correct, I maybe only want to give them 1 point rather than 2. And you can see I started to do this. I can grab, if I left click with my mouse on this little corner here for any of the questions, I can move the questions around. Now, if moving them around in the question bank really has no effect on how the students are exposed to these questions. If I move this question to the bottom of the question bank, the student still has just as much of a likelihood of getting this question as they did when it was moved a little bit earlier. Again, it's just completely random here. But the nice thing with this is I can pull these down to different groups. You see, I haven't actually created this group, so I do need to click create. But once I have done that, it will give me this little error message because it's asking to pull 8 questions. Well, I don't have 8 questions in there. So in order to get rid of that little error message, I'm just going to need to fill this with questions till I have more than that set number there. So you can see I can real easily pull those there. Now, if I wanted to, I can go up to the little plus sign here, and this will allow me to create a brand new question. If I want to make changes to how this group, this question bank functions, if I go to the little pencil, then that gives me the option to change how many questions that are picked, the points, and the name. Okay. Now, the other thing I wanted to show in this video was using some of the analytical tools to help get the most out of your quizzes. So if you're like me, you spend a lot of time putting these quizzes together, and if you're setting them up the way that I do with as a worksheet, the goal is that the students hopefully are mastering the content. And if they are finding questions they don't know, the second or third or fourth time that they take the test, they're being exposed to questions very similar, and at that point, hopefully they've had a chance to review some of the material or apply thinking to apply their critical thinking to a new question, just worded a little different. But I admit that I'm not the best at writing quiz questions. I've had students come back and tell me that they've been very confused about the wording of a question, and so I've maybe needed to just award everyone the points and then make that change for the next class. But if I don't get that kind of student feedback, it used to be that I really did not know what to do with those questions. If the questions were poorly worded, I'd assume that they weren't. I'd assume that everything was peachy. But the analytical tools for Canvas allow me to dig a little bit deeper than what I used to be able to do. So again, if I come back here to my quizzes, I see my midterm worksheet. I can click on that. Up in the upper right-hand corner here, I'm going to see this quiz statistics. So after you've had students complete this, what I like to do is I click on that. It's going to give me kind of an overall chart of average score and grades. But what I really like, as I said, I occasionally have a question that I don't word all that well. And so I can go through this and I can see each of these questions that students have been exposed to. Now, mind you, with a question bank, this particular question may not be seen by everyone in the class. So there are some advantages and disadvantages to question bank. That one of the disadvantages, if you're trying to get this kind of analytics out of it, you're probably going to have to run this question through several classes or a very large class in order to really get the best information from this. But you can see here then these little green bars represent the number of students who got the answer correct. This is the correct answer, and then tells you how many students got it correct. And then the black bar here tells me how many did not, and it puts it into a percentage. And so one thing I will do now, I can come down here, and I see that I have a very large number of students. Now, only out of 7, again, that's not a lot of students who are that had seen this question, but out of that 7, it's almost 50-50. Almost half of them are answering it incorrectly. So that's either a question that I'm going to need to rephrase, or I'm going to need to change my approach to the way that I teach this particular topic. And so I just wanted to share this with you because this has helped me improve the types of questions and improve what I'm hoping to get out of the students quite significantly than to just give them a one-time memory-based test and just go off of the individual grades. That doesn't do much for me to help with future classes. So using the analytical tools and the question banks are just a couple options for you.